Hi, my name's Alexander Sebastian and welcome to Call to Action Pro. Now, if I had Call to Action Pro when I started, I would have saved years in learning hours and thousands in design costs. So let's jump into the design interface so you can see why CTA Pro is an essential tool to add to your marketing toolkit. I'll start by showing you a pre-designed template. So let's take a look at the simple headline style. To see how simple CTA Pro is to use, let's move about a few of the headlines into different positions using the drag and drop interface. Now let's change the text for this demo's purpose. Now all controls for each element are just above the canvas area. We can easily change the colour and maybe slightly modify the border style and many more options. And just below the canvas area you can see a play button. This will let you see how it looks so far. So this is the animation timeline. Each element has its own timeline, so you can add effects at specific times. You can click and drag to change the time periods and then click an effect area to choose an effect. You can also add a secondary effect. Now these are great for buy buttons. This interface allows you to create pretty much anything. So let's have a look at another template. This time we're going to look at a sidebar advert. Everything is designed using the same interface, so it's very easy to learn. Creating adverts like this is much more effective than a simple image advert. Dynamic adverts actually draw your audience's focus to where you need it. We have a selection of different ways to make your animation start, like when a user scrolls down the page. You don't have to use animations. We also have a selection of graphics that you can load into your design. And new graphics come with each template pack we release. If you click on Add New Decoration, you'll see a library of different elements from underlines and arrows to shapes and buy buttons. These make it extremely fast to design your own styles. And of course you can import all of your own images in a few simple clicks. Now I know you can already see the power of being able to create pages that convert your audience into subscribers, buyers, or even just raving fans, along with the benefits of raising your perceived value with professional design. CTA Pro will help you craft high converting pages that cannot be ignored. And remember, if you purchase today, we're giving you a professional quick start template pack with 20 pre-designed templates to get you up and running fast. For peace of mind, we have a no questions asked 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can rest assured there is no risk on your part. But to make this deal even sweeter, we have a limited time offer. So if you purchase before the countdown at the bottom of this page hits 0, you can make big savings before we release it as an evergreen product. So scroll down the page, hit the buy button, and remember, there is no risk and everything to gain. I'll see you in the members area shortly.
Duktig tjej! Oj, vad du är duktig! Genom, bra! Ut, hopp, hopp! Fram! Genom! Genom! Bra! Fram! Ja! Bra! Hopp, genom!
political party that was in charge during the worst terrorist attacks in history, who responded with not just a necessary war, but with an unnecessary one on top of that, and then who paid for those wars with tax cuts and IOUs, and then made those wars that much more difficult for our service persons overseas by collecting scads of civilian prisoners, holding them without charges, and then torturing them, and then cutting medical and mental health benefits for our veterans when they returned home. The right sure does point the finger at the left a lot. In fact, the worst thing that the right can blame their progressive counterparts for is for not cleaning the right's mess up quickly enough. Which is a pretty low blow considering what the Republicans have tried to do to hinder the progress of the Democratic majority in the Senate. Their most aggressive tactic is a little technique of Senate procedure called the filibuster. The filibuster is basically a 60% majority vote to end debate in order that a 50% majority can seek to try to pass the motion or law being debated. There's a wonderful old movie called Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, where you can watch Jimmy Stewart heroically filibuster around the clock without sleep to right a wrong. And that's exactly what the filibuster is for. It's an emergency stopgap to prevent the majority from running roughshod over the minority. Instead, the neocons are using it in exactly the opposite way, to run roughshod over the majority, to hold Congress hostage, and to blockade every single important piece of business on the table. In the old days, the filibuster was used to bring the majority party back to the table to work out a compromise. But now the right has vowed to stop all progress whatsoever, including measures from their own party, in order to make President Obama look as bad as possible. They've even gone so far as to publicly say, "I hope he fails." They cared very little for the fact that in order for the president to fail, the rest of the country has to fail with him. So they blocked tax reform and campaign finance reform, gun control measures and student loan aid, equal pay for women, and a living wage for the poor, hundreds of critical government and court appointments, jobs bills when millions of Americans are struggling to find work, and then they blockaded emergency spending measures in a time of great crisis, resulting in the government shutting down and our credit rating being downgraded as a nation for the first time in our history. Boy, you know, the Tea Party continually complains the government is bad, and then they proceed to prove it with each and every office they hold. But there was one brief, shining moment when the Democrats broke the stranglehold. When the 111th Congress sat in 2009, the so-called Democratic supermajority of 60 senators, enough to end a filibuster, was not in place because the GOP had fought for 8 months against the election results in Minnesota, which had given a breathtakingly narrow victory to Democrat Al Franken. Then, just 6 weeks after Franken, the 60th left-voting senator, had been allowed to take his seat and serve the constituency that elected him, Democratic Senator Edward Kennedy passed away. Kennedy had shrewdly convinced the governor of Massachusetts to seat a proxy in his stead after he was gone to preserve the Democratic supermajority in the Senate. Unfortunately, his Democratic successor ran a poorly led campaign and allowed a Tea Party Republican to win his seat. Hypocritically, the same neoconservative elements that had prevented Al Franken from taking his seat for a full 6 months demanded that their candidate be seated immediately. So, as of February 2010, the Democratic supermajority was broken, and the most productive Congress since the Great Society of the 1960s was shut down. Yet, in that time, the left achieved almost as much as the next 2 Congresses that would come after them combined. They passed the most legislation since, well, the last time they had a majority in Congress. And they did something that people thought was absolutely impossible. They passed comprehensive health care reform, something that presidents and senators had tried and failed at for a century. And they did it in just 5 months of tireless hard work. And that's the difference between today's conservatives and progressives. Heck, it's the difference between today's conservatives and the conservatives I grew up with. While everyone else is fighting to try to get things done, they are willing to hold America politically hostage rather than doing the job we pay them for. All to make sure that we the people cry uncle and put them back in power. Go do the research and see what the Democrats were able to achieve in just 5 short months. Now, don't you think that they deserve 2 honest years without the stonewalling and obstructionism to do their very best and try to show us what they can accomplish in that time? The selfish, bullying, do-nothing, obstructionist, neoconservative Tea Party sure as heck won't do it. Let's send those deadbeats a message. Let's get them out. Now, Daniel comes from the Hebrew meaning God is my judge, and that may well be. But today, I'm putting myself out there into the free market of ideas to be judged by all the rest of you. Today, I'm Daniel in the lion's den. But I'd like to be remembered as Daniel who slew the giant with one smartphone. Now, I'm not the Dan Mac super PAC or anything. I'm just one guy with a cell phone camera, the right to free speech, and the hope that my country, the country that I proudly served in uniform, a country that's generous and energetic and an amazing place, can be great again, can be a leader again where it's lost its way. Look, I have lots of friends ranging from staunch conservatives to active libertarians to a Democratic ex-state Senate candidate. But I don't have any influence or anything, and I sure as heck don't have hundreds of millions of dollars like George Soros or the Koch brothers. Heck, I'm in the middle of a bankruptcy. I can't even get important dental work done. And I'm not getting a penny from anybody to do this. I'm doing this because I believe that everyone matters. Because I'm sick of seeing elections bought and won over attack ads rather than the truth. And the truth in this election is, we've given the neoconservative movement since the Reagan administration to prove itself. And they've done nothing but crash the global economy, enrich the already wealthy, and lead us into war after war after war. You remember those budget surpluses at the end of the Clinton administration? How the heck did we forget that? That's why this moment right now is so important. You know, I've given a few dollars to the progressives to try to hold on to the Senate seats that they have. But those dollars have been very painful for me to sacrifice in my situation. In fact, I'm literally going to have to skip meals next month in order to cover that expense. And even so, it's not enough. I have to do more. As of today, I haven't worked a single day this month or earned a dime of income. Thanks, broken economy. And that despite having some really great clients in the video industry and just coming off 2 months of working nonstop. This wasn't anything for me to do this month. So I'm putting my skills to work to try to get the word out that this is the most important election in living memory. A chance for the progressives to finally show what they can do and join the neocons in failure. Together, over the next 2 years, we can help show them whether or not their policies work. But we can only do that if you get out of your chair and vote. And bring some of your cynical, non-voting friends with you. So, do you believe that you can make a difference? I do. That's why I started this campaign. Because this election is just too important to sit through on the sidelines. I'm Dan Mac, and I approve this message. Get them out.